GrumpaDwarf at your service. Dragon!
Judges 1:19. And the Lord was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. This verse seems to present us with a spiritual conundrum. It tells us that the Lord was with Judah, and because of this, Judah won the victory over those who lived in the mountain. But the next thing it says is that Judah could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had superior technology, namely chariots of iron. Is the Lord not great enough to handle chariots of iron? What in the world is this about? The answer begins to come in verse 28, Judges 1:28, and it came to pass, when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute, and did not utterly drive them out. Notice that the could not of verse 19 has turned into did not in verse 28. The power of God was enough to drive out the inhabitants of the mountain immediately. But God is not going to give us every victory immediately and easily. Some victories He is going to expect us to struggle and work for our own benefit. The children of Israel eventually got strong enough in the power of God to drive out all of the Canaanites, even with their chariots of iron. But by that time they decided that it would be much more advantageous for them to keep them around as tributaries, taxpayers, rather than driving them out. In other words, by the time they were strong enough to do the job, they were spiritually weak enough to decide not to do the job. And because of that, the could not, which became a did not in Judges 2:3, turned into a will not. That will not came from God, Judges 2:3. Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. In other words, the spiritual ability they had to gain the victory was taken away from them. Do realize two things. One, sometimes God will make us work very hard and for a very long time for spiritual victory. Two, if after we have gained the strength for that victory, we back away from it and refuse to take it, God will remove the strength that He gave us to achieve that victory. So go all out, all the time, all for God. The spiritual life is either victory or defeat. There really is no middle ground.